Welcome back to the Rams Horn. I'm your host, Dylan Jimenez. Joining with me today is Isaac Wilkerson and Seth Martinez. Boys, how are we doing today?
Pretty good. Excited to just kind of kick off the first inaugural Ram Horn.
I'm also excited. It's going to be a fun time. You guys are some great guys to just chop it up and talk sports with. I think it's going to be a lot of fun on this show, so can't wait to get started.
A lot of fun indeed, and we got a packed show today for you folks as we talk about the volleyball and them coming off of their win against Cameron on a 5-game winning streak too as well. We'll also talk about football and their loss to Tarleton this past Saturday. We'll also talk about the Bell soccer team too as well, coming off a road trip too as well in East Texas. Well, guys, we ready to get started?
I think so.
Let's do it.
All right, so volleyball team, like I said, on a 5-game winning streak, beating Cameron 3-1. Isaac, how you feeling about that last win?
Absolutely amazing. Bells have been playing out of their mind. They've been doing a great job of having great killing percentage, having a 21% killing percentage, which is third in the Lone Star Conference right now. And once again, Audrey Frenier is having an absolute monster season. The senior transfer for this team, doing a great job leading her team, has 186 kills on the season and had an exceptional game against Cameron.
60 kills that game for the Bells too as well, 250 hitting percentage and 10 aces too as well. Very good for these girls also too as well. A little bit of a battle from Cameron too as well. We see there the Bells really taking that first set, I believe, by 2 points, 25-21 in that first set too as well. And then Cameron winning the second set. You know, really battling back, but the girls really be able to finish that off and come back on top. And that right, Seth?
That's true. See, I'm at a little bit of a disadvantage. The couple of games that I have seen from them, just as like Isaac described it, it's just phenomenal. Just the way that volleyball is very interesting to me in the fact that I used to think it was like, okay, just hit the ball across. But no, it's a lot about strategy and where they have their key players to set up the spike and everything. Is just the way that they execute the plays is just, it's just crazy to see, especially just like the way that they're playing, like at just like that next level. The game that I saw was against, I believe, Kingsville, and it was just they had a shutout. They won all 3 sets, and it was amazing to watch.
Yeah, big right there too. You say right now the Bills sitting at 7-1 in the conference, just behind Tarleton 8-1. You know that loss really killing them whenever they went to Stephenville and got that loss from Tarleton too as well. But I believe these Bells can battle back too as well because these girls have fight in them too as well. Don't you think, Isaac?
For sure, the Bells, like you said, losing against Tarleton was definitely tough. But Tarleton is that caliber of a team. They're a good team, so it's definitely something that they can add to their arsenal, add more fuel to the fire, and definitely want to bring it back home because they have not played Tarleton at home yet. So I think that'll add a big advantage over for the Bells when they play them at home. But overall, I think the Bells have been playing great. They know how to put some runs together deep into the set, like you said before. So they can get that, keep going, and keep this momentum with a 5-game win streak. They can do some damage here in the Lone Star Conference.
Next 2 games here at home, October 5th against Western New Mexico University. Right now they sit 9th in the Lone Star Conference in a 3-5 record. What can we expect from that game, guys?
I think it's going to be more Bells than anything else because, like you said, sitting 9th in the Lone Star Conference, Bells definitely know how to bring it to you. But one of the things that the Bells do need to work on is they lit up off the gas a little bit, and so they allow teams to come back into the games. But if the Bells can stay consistent, if Megan Parker can continue to have an amazing service game, I think it could be another win for the Bells against Western New Mexico.
Kind of as like Isaac stated, like the at-home advantage. Like I think Angelo State is just going to one of my first volleyball games. Just the amount of support from the fans and everything is definitely just like one of their key factors into the games. Just like whenever they're just on fire, like the fans will just let you know, just hearing them, and then the band and everything, or the band's basketball. I don't know why I thought that, but just like with the crowd support, really like just being up there and doing 3-play and just like getting the crowd shots of just like people just excited to be there to support the Bells. So definitely just a big part of like what makes their team a whole.
Right. No, I definitely agree too. Kind of going back to what Isaac was saying too. You know, these Bells, know how to fight. You know, these Bells just got to stay consistent and be on top of the game the whole time too as well. In which, the next day, October 6th, the following game, to play UTPB, who are 5th in the Lone Star Conference, 5-4 record too as well. What can we expect for that? Do you see them carrying that momentum over too as well from the last game?
I think it's going to have a big part of it on how they do against Western New Mexico. Because if they kind of just take that game, take a day off for that game, even if they still end up winning, you don't want to bring that into the next game, obviously, against UT Permian Basin. So I feel like depending on the outcome of that game, how well the Bells are able to come out on top against the the Mustangs, I think it could be a big part of how they play against the UT Permian Basin. Just overall good team.
Is that the idea?
Complete in agreement with him, especially, well, one of their biggest flaws is, like, just kind of to restate what he said, they hopefully they don't do against the Mustangs or ETPB, just kind of, like I said, with my one, like, couple of games that I have, like with Kingsville, they did the same thing in the third set. Whenever they had stomped them in the first two, but come the third, they had kind of given them some slack, so like they were starting to pull ahead, but just towards the end with the miracle, well, not really much of a miracle the way that they were playing towards the end, but they, you know, caught all the way back up. So sometimes that can just kind of work to their benefit, and, you know, hopefully this doesn't, like, isn't their fault against the Mustangs and UTPB.
Right.
The Falcons, right? That's what.
The Falcons, right. I completely agree with you, too, as well. I mean, like you said, if they carry that momentum from the 5-game winning streak, too, as well, and take it to this, you know, they're just keeping on that gas, you know, really looking for getting back on top of the Lone Star Conference, too, as well. You know, hopefully catching Tarleton slip, too, as well, and just battling for that spot, too, as well, which would be a huge for them, especially when Tarleton comes to San Angelo, too, as well. You know, that's basically right there to crown, you know, the championship right there, too, as well.
I completely agree with you. I can't wait to see, because since I've been here, I haven't seen the Bells volleyball team host conference. So I'd love to see them host conference this year if they're able to come out on top. I think, once again, Tarleton is definitely that caliber of a team. They're a great team overall. They've had some very powerful hitters and some good defense. So like you said before, the Bells are able to take this momentum and just keep going forward and able to just take each game one game at a time. I think they'll have a really good season, especially with their freshman, Sophia Berg. She's been playing exceptional. So having her for another 3 years, it's going to be a good time for the Bells.
Big test coming up for the Bells on October 5th and 6th, too, as well. Catch us in a minute as we come back and talk about football. Welcome back to the Rams Horn. Seth and Isaac joining me here again now. We'll be talking about the Rams football and their 54-33 loss to Tarleton. A bit of rivalry, too, as well between these two teams. What are we taking away? How is the feeling after this loss, guys?
This game is just not what you expected from ASU. Just coming off of their 2 games, just seeing the momentum of them, and coming into Tarleton, just as you said, just a bitter rival, but not what you expect from just like a rivalry. Just like more of a blowout, and so it just kind of takes it down from rivalry to just something that, like, hopefully they can really work on, like, for next year. Just the way that they had 3 quarterback switches, Rotherham throwing around 4 interceptions in his time being out there. It's just kind of it's kind of a weird spot that the Rams find themselves in right now, because it's okay to take a loss, but when you lose by a bigger margin, it's a lot tougher to come out of that and to still work as a unit to perform and win against other teams.
And I would 100% agree with that. You know, having to trust your team and just seeing that, like, you know that y'all can play better, especially giving up 20 points in the first quarter. That's absolutely insane. I've never heard of that in the Lone Star Conference, and, you know, it was just very demoralizing, because usually blowouts happen towards, like, the second half or, you know, something around that, but being down 13 points in the first quarter was definitely a morality, just took them down another peg. And I feel like that was a big reason why they just kind of felt like, you know, this game doesn't really matter anymore, we're already losing. And especially coming off of that loss against Midwestern State, it's the Rams just need something to turn it around. You know, they need some silver lining in the clouds here, and I think that's definitely what they're looking for as they go play against Eastern New Mexico this weekend.
You know, you bring up the point of, you know, trying to turning it around here too as well, and, you know, I think it's a perfect opportunity to turning around against New Mexico too, like you said too as well. Seth, what can you add on to that too as well? Like Isaac said, you know, just turning it around, you know, moving past this and going into next week too as well.
Well, turning it around, they could be like a phoenix. You know, they just kind of like, yeah, I know, what an analogy, but, you know, like just rising from the ashes of just kind of what Tarleton left. Man, what a way to word it. But yeah, I don't think there's really much I can just like kind of put on that than just what I said. It's just it's kind of like a pit in my stomach, just trying to like explain, just like, because the Rams are capable of like a lot more than how they played against Tarleton. They were just, especially I think one of my biggest critiques to the Rams were just the way that the offense was performing. One of the big things that I saw was just that you count, usually you want to get yourself maybe 5 seconds, just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the pocket to let the quarterback just like, get something out there, especially for passing, because running wise, it wasn't really going that well for the Rams. So you always want to rely on passing, but for them, they only gave Rotherham and then the other two that were filled in for a spot maybe like 2 seconds, 2, 3 seconds, and they're just having to like move side to side to see, okay, where am I going to rush out of here? Am I going to pass? And the times that he did decide to pass would just lead to interceptions that weren't necessary.
Right. And like going back to what you said too, and the Tarleton defense only giving up 100 yards on the ground too as well. But a lot through the air too, 438 yards passing too as well. Like you said, going between the three quarterbacks, Charlie Rotherham, Peyton Solons, and Carson Cooks too as well. And so do you think in some way they have to find a balance in this upcoming game too as well?
Definitely trying to find a balance, and just like the quarterback situation is just a big thing, because usually with any school really you just have like that one. Just the one that's usually just like the machine for them that can just throw efficiently, just like good IQ of the field. But it's a very scary whenever just of all the positions to be in jeopardy, just like the quarterback, I don't want to say the brain, because like as our coach would call us, like linemen, like the forgotten five. But I will have to say, like, yeah, the quarterback's definitely like the brain of the whole offense, just like taking from the snap and deciding, especially obviously on passing, like where this is going to go. So when you don't have somebody set down from it, it's just very scary. So hopefully they can just try to find either Rotherham or the other two that you mentioned, just to be the definitive quarterback.
Yeah, and something that we kind of talked about too. Pre-show, Rotherham and Payne Sellers have both seen playing time this whole season too as well. Obviously the quarterback spots in the air too as well. Can't you agree to that? What more can you add on to that, Isaac?
I 100% agree with that, because like both of y'all mentioned, that quarterback spot being up in the air right now, it really feels like the offense is looking for that leader, somebody to step out on the field and say like, hey, look, I know we may be down by this much here, but we can turn this around. And I really just feel like that's one of the things that's kind of holding the Rams back right now, because like Seth mentioned, it was a very one-dimensional offense last Saturday. They had more passing yards than Tarleton, obviously, but Tarleton tore them apart on the running game. So when the Rams can figure out that nice balance, kind of mix it up like they did in the first home game against Kingsville, I think they'll have a much better time and play a lot better than they did against Tarleton.
Mm-hmm. Two receiver standouts too, Lawson Ayo and Kiki Chisholm, both with receiving yards over 100 yards, and both with at least one touchdown in this game too. Thoughts on those players too as well?
Definitely leaders. Like out of just everything that was just kind of crumbling beneath them, like those two kind of stood out above it, and it kind of gave the Rams like hope for it. Just seeing them, you're looking at the scoreboard, and not much hope. But then whenever you see these players just like come out, not being detoured by what Isaac was saying earlier, like okay, like now we're in a position where we can't come back, but they just they shake that mentality and are able to perform at the level that they know that they can. So it's very inspiring, especially watching, because I always find football like very inspiring, just like the athleticism of it, the teamwork, just what it all means. So just whenever men like them are able to step up and do it, they can really give some motivation for the football team, regardless of a win or a loss.
Yeah, and going to the game too as a whole, 5 turnovers as overall the game too as well. Something a category you can't really put up numbers into as well. You mostly see this as mental errors, mistakes, coming from this team. This is something that they can fix, Isaac.
I definitely believe it is something that they can fix, because like we said before, we've seen the Rams. I would even say we've seen them at their best, because I still feel like that game hasn't come yet this season. The Rams are capable of much more than this. So like you said, like the mental errors, like just a lot of things kind of going wrong right now. I feel like a lot of it is also just around a lot of the hype around football, especially since it was the family weekend. A lot of people are looking forward to this, and then of course the next home game is going to be homecoming. It's a lot of pressure on the football guys right now. So to have that leader just step up and kind of help them weather the storm, I think that's going to be a big part of it and help fix a lot of the mental errors.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you too, man. I definitely agree with you. Except you, anything you want to add on to that?
Really no final thoughts other than that. Just, like you said, coming into homecoming, just hopefully they can just get, just shake it off and hopefully come into this game just and find themselves because obviously they have a lot of good players on there. A lot of people that Tashani Bibbs is definitely somebody like whenever he had returned one. I'm not sure if it was in the second or third, but just the way that he just like his athleticism is crazy. The way he cuts up the field and just like he has like that moxie about him. So just knowing that they have the keys to make it work, they just all have to be running on like the same level.
Right. Most definitely agree with you too. Next game for the Rams is October 6th. They'll be traveling to place Western New Mexico Mustangs too as well. What are some takeaways that we can take from this game, guys?
Going, that is kind of a tough one. So with, like I explained earlier, like with the kind of the Phoenix thing, they just kind of just like hopefully can like rise above that. But I really have like nothing like. I think what I had explained on Tarleton just kind of can just be towards like the Mustangs, the way that they can just need to like move and improve from that game jumping into this one.
I feel like this is a definite like kind of must-win situation for the Rams here. Definitely want to get a win to boost the morale of the team. Like we said before, it's just like feels like a lot of things are just going wrong, and they know better than anybody else how good of a team they are, how capable of a team they are. So I feel like a win in Western New Mexico, I feel like could definitely boost them into the homecoming game, having all that pressure on their shoulder to win in front of the alumni and all the past players that used to come here. So I think it's a must-win game.
So despite the fact that Western New Mexico has yet to win a game this season, should this game be taken lightly or should it be taken, just as serious as any other game too as well?
Definitely not taken lightly because it seems like with all the Angelo sports here, anytime you play down, obviously anytime when you play down to the level of competition, you lose a lot of stuff. And even though you may be able to get a win out of it, you leave a lot of mistakes. And if you play that way in that game, you're obviously going to play that way in the next game. And you can't afford to do that against West Texas, who they're going to be playing against for homecoming.
Right.
That's probably the best way to put it. Like, never underestimate your opponent, even if they've been undefeated the whole season. Always expect that they're going to just be they're coming in as the underdogs. Like we think Angelo taking this loss to Tarleton is bad. Like as you explained, like they're coming off of just no wins at all. So definitely just looking for something to prove really. And if they can make that example off of Angelo, then that would just be even more demoralizing going into the homecoming. So I think they know that to an extent that they're just going to go out there and perform to the best of their ability and hopefully give a good show. Yeah,
most definitely. It's still a conference game too. I mean, really anything can happen at this point too in the season too as well. So a real big test of the battle too for the Rams. Especially this week and then going into homecoming too as well. Because you look at the schedule and after this game, the schedule is still tough.
Yeah.
I mean, you still have Commerce at the end of the season too as well, and other big teams too as well within the conference as well that you really got to look out for. So, come back and join us here in a second. We'll be talking about Bell Soccer. We'll be right back.
You're watching Ram TV, Suddenlink Channel 6, the official home of Angelo State University Broadcasting. Tune in daily to see what's for you, ASU, to look inside ASU, to see Ram Walk, live sports, arts and humanities, and much, much more. Only on Ram TV, Suddenlink Channel 6.
We're back here at the Rams Horn. We'll be talking about Bell Soccer now. Going this past weekend, the Bells losing to Texas women 2-0 and winning against Texas A&M Commerce 2-1. How are we feeling about this past weekend for the Bells?
Definitely, it's great that they got a win against Commerce, but definitely not what you expect and not what you want to see out of the Bells played against Texas Women's, who are definitely not the greatest team in the Lone Star Conference. So it felt like it was going to be, I don't want to say an easy win because no win is really easy, but definitely felt like a game that the Bells should have won. And I know that we were talking about this before we got on here, but I know some mistakes were made. Some people were being subbed out just because it just kind of felt like not as much effort was given because it might not have been much of a important game. But definitely you don't want to see that out of the Bells. But I feel like the Bells do a good job of bouncing back. So it's going to be interesting to see how they play this Friday.
Not many teams, I'll kind of say this about the Ram Bells. Not many teams have that one character that just when you see it, it just strikes fear. And I think Trinity Scott, just what I've seen from her in these past couple of games has just been phenomenal. So having I'll use like an analogy. Like she is to the Bells, like kind of like a fear factor to other teams, is what like Brandy Marlette was for for softball. Just I remember commenting my first couple games for Marlette, and I was even scared just to sit there and be commentating because
Serious
she just
intensity.
had just this look about her that she was 100% confident in what she was doing and knew that she could just perform at like just ahead of anybody who was put in her way. And I think like the analogy, just Scott is that same way to the Bells. Just what she's been able to do and what she's capable of is just very, very interesting, and she no doubt puts on a show like any of the games that I've seen.
Yeah, Trinity just got to one of your goal scorers, against Texas A&M Commerce too as well. Mackenzie Broderick able to find the back of the net against Texas A&M Commerce too as well. But I think if you look at both games, you can see that they're two different games too as well. You look at the Texas women's game too as well. You have 4 shots, just 2 on target, and then you turn around and look at the Texas A&M game, and you have 18 shots with 10 on target. I mean, it really shows a big difference of the game too as well. And looking with Travis McCorkle, what he has said to me too, and post game interviews too as well. He's seeing this team find its identity, and he really wants them to keep continuing building on that too as well as they go forward into the conference too as well. Isaac, you got any things on that too?
I 100% agree with that. The Bells are still, like you said, looking for that identity. They've been very dangerous from set pieces this year. I know head coach McCorkle had been talking about how that they've been practicing that a lot in practice, and definitely great to see Trinity Scott back on the field, having missed the first couple of games. And I think she's been playing absolutely amazing, but she definitely can't do it without the 2 players that have been backing her up, Avery McNimmy and also, Cassandra Mooseberger. Avery McNimmy has 5 assists total for this season. She leads the leads the Lone Star Conference in assists, which is just absolutely amazing. She really knows how to find Trinity Scott, and Trinity Scott just does a great job of getting some runs, getting open, and getting to the box, and really she just seems hungry for goals. That's the best way I could describe Trinity Scott. She knows where to put her body at. She knows how to finish very well, and I believe that'll be a big factor into this next game is how those 3 are able to play together, because it's like a powerhouse between those 3.
Yeah, and you're talking about like Avery McNemmy, having 5 assists leading the conference too as well. It's just sometimes you see the girls, create all these chances, whether it be more shots than anything too as well. And then at times, you see them not really creating a lot of chances too as well. Do you see like some inconsistencies there at times?
I definitely see some inconsistencies, and it just kind of feels like sometimes in some of their games they create a lot of opportunities. It's up to those forwards to be more clinical and put them into the back of the net. There was a couple of times where they should have really scored against that Midwestern State game. They should have scored a couple of the game winners there, had a lot of opportunities, but I feel like the midfielders do a great job of setting up their players. They do a great job of sending those long balls forward. They know Trinity Scott can run for days. They know Cassandra Mooseberger is an absolute workhorse that she can just chase down those balls. So I believe the opportunities will continue to come, obviously, for the Bells. It's just a matter of Trinity Scott, Mackenzie Broderick, the other forwards, just to take full advantage of it and just tuck them into the back of the net.
We're talking about the forwards a lot too as well, but if you go and look, more at the midfield, the back line, and Kira Miller too, playing every single minute in goal so far this whole season too as well. Really, the back line has stepped up a lot too as well, and you've seen this back line respond to as well the likes of like Marissa Berry and Hampton and all those other girls too as well. Really stepping up too, like I said, filling in big shoes, because a lot of seniors graduated last season too as well, and so you see them stepping up, and really whether they let it in a goal or not, you see this team respond too as well. You got anything on that, Isaac? Seth?
Oh, no, you're good. No, really, my only thing that like I kind of like can even add to like kind of soccer now is just as Isaac was talking about really more the set pieces, just the way that they're able just to like move the ball up the field, or what's it called, the pitch.
Pitch field.
Yeah, no, trying to use some terminology in here now. Yeah, but the way that they're able just to like to be there, it's pretty interesting just to see like the effortlessly like passing, the communication between them. But that's really all I can like add to it.
Yeah, I mean, because really, when you start to look at this, it's a pretty young team too as well. Majority of the starting 11 has been a lot of freshmen, and the freshmen haven't really stepped up a lot too as well. And so, at the beginning of the season, you did see some some lack of communication. You did see some, some mistakes and errors, but, at the season ground, this team has gotten better, and this team has shown that they can still go out and win the conference, too, as well. They sit behind West Texas A&M. West Texas A&M is 4-0 right now in conference, and the Bells 3-1. And so, really, this coming up game 2, whenever they play them at home on October 7th, it's going to be a real big test for them, too, as well.
And I agree with that because it was definitely a bitter pill to swallow last year in the championship round of the Lone Star Conference. Bells actually ended up losing to West Texas A&M, and it was definitely, once again, difficult, but once again, West Texas is that caliber of a team. They have great attacking because one of the biggest things was nobody scored in the first half, but that second half, it seemed like it was a whole other team out there. They had some great counterattacks. They really just were pushing the tempo, and I think it caught the Bells off guard. So I definitely feel like the Bells are going to be looking for a big win against West Texas here, trying to win the conference once again. But like you said, going back to the freshman goalkeeper and Kira Miller, having an absolutely amazing season, filling in those big shoes of Sam McCood, who was an absolutely phenomenal goalkeeper, who's over in Houston now playing. It's a big task for Kira Miller, but I definitely feel like she's up to it. She has the length, she has the agility to keep those balls out of the back of her net.
Right. Well, before they play West Texas A&M, though, on October 7th, this October 5th, they'll be playing Eastern New Mexico, who are third in the conference right now with a record of 2 wins, 1 loss, and 1 draw, too, as well. And, surprisingly, they're actually, in the preseason polls, they were picked second in the conference, to finish second in the conference, too, as well. What can we take away and what can we expect from these girls as this match approaches?
I feel like Eastern New Mexico was definitely one of the more slept-on teams last year. I believe they also were able to beat the Bells last year at home. So they know how to play in adversity. It's always tough playing on the road, and I think the Greyhounds do a great job of handling that adversity. They really respond well to all of those attacks that the Bells send. They have a great keeper, and really just their back line keeps it together. They all communicate well, and they really limit the possession that Trinity Scott has, that Cassandra Moosberger has, that Chloe Souza has. And when you do that, it's a lot harder to attack, especially for the Bells, because they really rotate around, those centerpieces.
Seth, what are you looking for the upcoming match between the Bells and Eastern New Mexico?
I think the only thing I can kind of add to it that could kind of give some logically is what was the freshman goalie? What's her name?
Kira Miller.
I think one of the fun a funny little tidbit to kind of go off of. Dylan does the commentating for the ASU soccer team, and her mother came into the building not very happy because she thought that Dylan was the one that was announcing his daughter's name. So every time I hear her name, I always have that memory in my head. it always just cracks me up. She just came in there just very distraught that she thought that Dylan wasn't the one who was announcing the name. But I thought that was pretty funny. It really adds nothing to it, but I thought
no, it doesn't.
I thought that would just be a nice.
It's just going down memory lane right here now.
Oh boy.
Well, after that October 5th showdown with Eastern New Mexico, then the Bells host October 7th West Texas A&M, who, like I said before, sit on top of the conference, undefeated, 4-0 right now in conference play. What can we really, that weekend, that they play, it's a big test for the Bells, both 2 games too, as well as, those are the top 3 teams, that in the preseason polls that have finishing in the top 3 for the conference too, as well. So, what do you take away from that?
I think it's going to be the toughest stretch of the calendar season for the Bells. Like you said, playing the number 1 and the number 3 seed teams in the Lone Star Conference. It's going to be a test of really how fit these girls are, because it's going to be some long minutes. You're going to have a lot of runs against Eastern New Mexico, and then you're going to have to turn around and play against the number 1 team in the Lone Star Conference, West Texas A&M, and it's definitely going to be a battle. You're going to have to be moving up and down the field a lot, and I feel like the Bells are definitely capable of doing it because head coach McCorkle is definitely not afraid to go into his bench. He has a lot of trust in those freshmen, like you mentioned, a very young team, and he just has a lot of trust in them, and especially in his senior leaders, Cassandra Moosberger and Megan Allen being the 2 captains of the team. I think it's going to be really just a battle of, once again, the fitness of each team, seeing how long they're able to keep this up.
Yeah, I think Annalise Watson would be a pivotal player in the midfield too as well. Annalise Watson has been doing some great things in midfield, really opening up play, really chasing down the ball too whenever you see the opposing team having possession, she's really trying to win possession back for the Bills too as well. And, just letting the space open, finding the pass too as well, letting the players make their runs, she's going to get it there to them too as well. So, big test for the Bills coming up too as well. Really a good chance, to really, solidify right there in the second, or really to go up top in the Lone Star Conference too as well.
I completely agree with you, because if they're able to take this one against Eastern New Mexico and just kind of ride the wave, ride the momentum, and win against West Texas A&M, I keep wanting to say Western New Mexico, West Texas A&M, I think that could be the pivotal point to see who's going to lead the Lone Star Conference there. It's going to be a big game for the Bells, and I feel like the Bells are up to the task. They have a lot of great veteran players and a lot of great young talent, and whenever those two are mixed together, it's just a matter of who wants it more, really.
Is that anything else to add?
Exactly like what Isaac was saying, but that combination is probably like one of the best. I think what I could kind of give it to is just like Dak Prescott coming in like for the Cowboys, just like this young kind of quarterback doing like advancing the team. So leading that towards the Bells is that they are able to have like that kind of chemistry where they can work in these young players and are able to just like adapt like with some of them who have been doing it like a lot longer. So they're definitely, as Isaac said, like they're up to the task for this game.
Right. Yeah. Most definitely too as well. Nothing else you want to add, Isaac? That pretty much wraps up soccer for us here at the Rams Horn too as well. And I do believe Isaac does have some golf news for us too as well.
Yeah, definitely one of the more slept on sports here at Angelo State University, but definitely one of the more relaxing sports. Definitely a great sport overall. The women's golf team went out to West Texas A&M. I feel like we keep mentioning them. West Texas A&M had their first invitational, and the Bells were able to finish 7th in that. So shout out to the golf team, did a great job. I believe they have another invitational at the end of October. It's something like that, but they surprisingly they have a lot of competitions coming up here. So I think the Bells are definitely up to the task and able to complete it.
Yeah, most definitely too. A little interesting fact too. Somebody on the golf team I actually went to school with too, as well.
Really?
So from Sweetwater, Texas. So shout out to Kinsey Chowning. I know you're probably watching this, so shout out to you. But I mean, that wraps it up here at the Rams Horn, guys. We thank you for tuning in, and tune in next week too, as well as we come back with some more ASU news. Thanks for watching.